Hey, it's the Graveyard Girls. We'll do things a bit different this week because we've got some feedback. So we're thinking maybe one case a week.
Yeah.
And then go into 2 cases a week on two separate days.
Yeah, I think that works. We're just sort of experimenting with it at the moment.
Yeah, because we think time-wise it might be a bit long for some listeners.
Yeah, but we really liked the idea of us telling each other a case each week.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to get rid of that dynamic because it's sort of the feedback from obviously different people. It's sort of contradicted. Some people are like, oh, it's a bit too long. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have it a bit more bite-sized. But then other people are like, no, we really like that you present a case to each other and you get a good conversation. So I think we're going to try and do, like you said, a case, just one this week, and then release the next one the following week. We'll see how that goes. But then maybe after that we might have 2 sort of episodes a week, so it's still only one case in each episode, but it gives us that opportunity to present a case to each other every week.
Yeah, and then we can like chat a little bit before and after the case.
Yeah.
So you can get to know us a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's good as well, and especially as we've gone on, there's a couple of episodes that we've got where the cases are quite big.
Quite long, yeah.
Yeah, so it gives us, it means we're not cutting out a lot of what we said, because I think especially when you look at the couple of cases we've already done, we've got quite good theories and quite lengthy theories, and I think that's where we've struggled a bit with the editing, is we didn't want to just cut it out.
No. Because
it ruins it, and I think we've got quite a few good ideas, but obviously you don't want like a 10-hour episode.
No, we can do a series.
And that's it. And I think, because I think the original plan was obviously we'd have these episodes where we did a case each, and then we would have mini episodes as a separate, but obviously we haven't released any of those yet, so at the moment it's just big bulky episodes, and I'm not sure if it's maybe putting some people off, which obviously we don't want to do. We'd like to gain interest rather than put people off.
Well, yeah, we value all your feedback.
That's
and
it.
opinions.
And we've had some absolutely brilliant feedback already. Like we genuinely weren't expecting this much already.
No.
With especially the first episode, that picked up a lot more views very quickly than we were expecting, which was,
God, that was amazing.
A massive relief, because I think we were a bit worried. We were like 2 weeks in and it's like not even had 5 views.
But no, it's been way more than that, and we're like, thank you for listening.
It's been really, really good. But it's helped us as well, because like I said, all this different bits of feedback, it's lots of other people's perspective, like with how we are in the cases. It's a lot of perspective, but there's some crossover, so hopefully we can fix all the little bits. Well, not necessarily fix, but
it's a learning journey.
Yeah, we'll try different things out. So.
Yeah, we're going to improve as we go along.
Yeah,
we're going
to find an experiment.
we're going to find what works for us.
Yeah, and everyone else, hopefully.
So yeah, let's jump into today's case then.
Yes.
I'm covering a mystery that started the original idea off with my best friend. It's somewhat solved/unsolved. That's why I couldn't say it. As there's no concrete proof of the final theory of what happened, I'm going to say it's kind of solved. However, the lead Soviet investigation closed the case, therefore law enforcement see it as case closed.
Okay. But
Case
you feel
solved.
like it's not.
No, it's not. Okay. Have you ever heard of Dyatlov Pass?
Yes, no, I've recognised the name, but I couldn't think of the case in particular off the top of my head.
Okay. In February 1955, a group of hikers disappeared in the remote Urals Mountains of western Siberia. Okay. A search party found their tent weeks later, abandoned along with all of their equipment. Frozen bodies were found 1,500 meters away, mysteriously undressed for the weather conditions.
I think I might vaguely remember this case now, yeah.
So most weren't wearing shoes, gloves or socks. Some were just in their sleeping clothes.
Oh, okay.
So one theory is that, this is what my friend's theory is, that they were having sex and then just decided to run out of the tent because they're drunk.
Right, okay.
No. It's not, no. You wouldn't do that.
No, well, no, you wouldn't.
No.
Where did that theory come in? Is that just one that was plucked out of thin air?
I don't know. I think he's just like, they're naked, so therefore...
They must be having sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to me, but yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm not rolling with that one yet.
I think my friend's theory is incorrect. Right, I'll continue. Right, I'll talk about the trauma and the injuries that happened to the hikers later on. But first of all, I want to talk about these people, not for what they're known for, which is obviously the trauma and what happened to them.
Okay.
So I gave a tiny bit of background of these people. So in 1959, a group was formed for a skiing expedition across the northern Urals in just some mountain range in Soviet Union.
Okay. We'll roll with that, it's fine.
Igor Dyatlov was a 23-year-old radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute and was the leader who assembled the group of 8 others for the trip.
So that's like a university, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Most of whom were fellow students and peers at the same university. Each member of the group, which consisted of 7 men and 2 women, were experienced grade 2 hikers with ski tour experience and would have received their grade 3 certification on return of this expedition.
So they're not complete experts, but they're not also novices either. They've done a bit of this before.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you have to do for grade 2, let alone grade 3. So no idea.
So I'd probably think they've got a relative amount of experience. They're just maybe not complete experts. But then, like I said, they're not novices, are they? It's not like they're not done it before.
No. At the time, this was the highest certification available in the Soviet Union and required candidates to traverse 300 kilometers, which is about 190 miles.
Okay.
So that's far.
Yeah.
That's from like here to London almost. Okay, the route was designed by Dyatlov's group to reach the northern regions of the oblast and the upper streams of the Lozva River. The goal of the expedition was to reach Torton, a mountain that was 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles north of the site where the incident occurred.
Okay.
So it's not too far from where, so they almost made it. Okay, this route was undertaken in February and estimated as a category 3, the most difficult time to traverse. So if they waited a little bit longer in the season, it would have been easier, I guess.
Okay, so they probably wanted quite a challenge, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, if they're trying to do it so they get their grade 3 certificates, it's probably another reason why they're going at that time.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
It might have been as well there wasn't other people around, maybe, because other people would have maybe been put off by that time of year, do you
True.
think? Is that a possibility?
I'd say so. I wouldn't want to go skiing in February. Maybe. I don't know. Because it's Siberia, it's going to be bad weather all the time, I'm imagining. On the 23rd of January 1959, the Dyatlov group was issued their route book, which listed their course as following the number 5 trail. The Dyatlov group left the city that same day. Okay, here's some names I'm going to mispronounce. Okay, the group consisted of Igor Dyatlov, Yuri Doroshenko, Ludmila Dubinina, Yuri Kravchenko, Alexander Kolvatov, Zeneda Kolmogorov, Rustem Slobindin, Nikolai Thibault Brinol, and Alexander Zorotolyov. Okay.
I don't know why I'm giggling because I couldn't pronounce these either, so...
Zorotolyov. I should have just done it with a Russian accent. Diaries and cameras found around their last campsite made it possible to track the group's route up until the day preceding the incident.
Right, okay.
On January 31st, the group arrived at the edge of the highland area and began to prepare for climbing. In a wooded valley, they cached surplus food equipment that would be used for the trip back. The next day, the hikers started to move through the pass. It seems they planned to get over the pass and make up camp for the next night on the opposite side, but because of the worsening weather conditions, snowstorms and decreasing visibility, they lost their direction, deviated west towards the top of the mountain that I can't pronounce. They then realized their mistake. The group decided to set up camp there on the slope of the mountain rather than move about a mile downhill in the forested area, which would have offered them more shelter.
Okay.
It is theorized that Dyatlov didn't want to lose any altitude the group had gained, which is why they decided to camp in the slightly unusual area of the mountain slope.
Okay.
So where they camped, it was quite steep. It's not a normal camping place.
Okay, so it's not sheltered, but I suppose maybe there's an element they might have been a bit worried if they'd gone further down, would it have worsened the conditions and they would have been better off where they were previously?
Yeah.
Because I suppose that's something you've got to consider, really, isn't it? Maybe we weren't there, but...
I mean, I prefer to camp in the trees rather than on a slope.
I would, but if they're already concerned about like how much the weather's worsened, I know it says only a mile, but if the weather is already rapidly decreasing in a very short period of time, and they worried it would like get even worse in that other mile and they'd lose even more. You know, if they're going maybe slightly downhill,
Yeah,
and it's changing pretty quickly, where they're thinking actually we're best to just stay put where we are,
true.
then
Yeah,
continue moving and maybe lose more track.
Yeah.
Because they've already deviated from where they were originally going. So maybe it's a case if we don't want to get lost anymore, so we don't get lost
Stay
anymore,
here.
just stay. Don't
Stay
go
here,
anywhere else.
yeah. Especially if they can't tell which direction they're going.
Yeah, I think, like I said, as much as trees might offer more shelter, I would be conscious of the fact I don't want to deviate even more. So maybe staying where I am might be better.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But I've never been in this condition.
Well, no,
so,
neither have I, so I'm just going to roll with that.
I'm sure they're, more experienced than us, and therefore we have no input in this situation.
Yeah.
We just
Well, we can only speculate, can't we? So.
Why are they parking? Why are they camping on a mountain? Yeah. We can't offer anything.
For all we know, they could have been in worse experiences before on
Yeah.
other things that they've done, so they actually felt quite comfortable in what they were doing.
Before leaving, Dyatlov agreed that he would send a telegram to their sports club as soon as the group returned to Vizhai. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was expected this would not happen no later than the 12th of February, but Dyatlov had told Udin, who was an original member of the group, but he didn't continue because he was ill. Yeah, he expected it was going to be longer than that. When the 12th passed and no message had been received, there was no immediate reaction, as delays of a few days were common and expected. On the 20th of February, the travellers' relatives demanded a rescue operation, and head of the institute sent the first rescue groups consisting of volunteers, students and teachers. Later, the army and police became involved with planes and helicopters ordered to join the operation. So obviously, they're important. They're being searched for.
Yeah, someone's looking for them.
Yeah. On the 26th of February, the searchers found the group's abandoned and badly damaged tent on that same slope.
Sorry, what date was that?
26th of Feb.
Okay, so this is quite long after they're claiming, like, it follows from where their last diary entry is, isn't it?
Yeah. So, there was expected to have some confirmation on or around about the 12th. And then on the 20th of February, that's when people started looking, and then they were found, items were found on the 26th of Feb.
So it's surprising, really, that the stuff actually lasted. I know that it's saying, like, the worsening weather conditions. They've done well that the stuff actually kind of remained. Or is that part of the... if I ruined the ending?
There are some things that remain, and then some things that mysteriously / not mysteriously disappear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll let you continue.
Okay, the campsite baffled the search party. Mikhail Sharavin, the student who found the tent, said the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and all the group's belongings and shoes were left behind.
Right, okay.
Investigators said the tent had been cut from the inside out.
See, this is the bit I remember from something I've read before.
9 set of footprints left by people wearing only socks or single shoes or even barefoot could be followed, leading down to the edge of a nearby wood on the opposite side of the pass, about less than a mile to the northeast. After 500 meters, these tracks were covered with snow. At the forest edge, under a large Siberian pine, searchers found visible remains of a small fire. This is where the bodies of Kravchenko and Doroshenko were found. Curiously, they were only wearing underwear, no footwear.
Right, okay.
It was minus 30.
Right, okay. I have a few theories in my head already turning around about this one.
Okay, tell me some theories.
Okay, first of all, I'm questioning if you've already mentioned there's more snow covering the rest of the bodies. Why didn't it cover up the footprints?
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, you know when people sometimes look and die or the hypothermia, they actually strip off because they think they're hot.
Yes,
that's
in my notes. Yes.
Yeah, I've read about this in other cases of other deaths.
Yep.
And that's how people actually die of hypothermia because they strip off
they
thinking
get
they're hot.
Yeah, they get hot. That's in my notes. That's not.
Sorry. Well, at least we're on the same track with this one.
Yes. Hold on. Yeah, continue.
So that mixed with the footprints, I'm a bit concerned. How did they know the footprints were only made in socks? If the bodies had been covered by snow, how were the footprints not covered by snow?
I found it. Paradoxical undressing.
Oh, there we go.
That's what it's called. Paradoxical undressing is disorientated hypothermia, and they remove their clothes because they think they're burning.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I had read about this in other cases.
Yeah.
So I've watched a few too many crime documentaries, I think.
Right. Yeah, so minus 30. But your other theory, the wind might have blown some of that and covered some of that.
Right, okay.
You see?
I still don't feel like how after all that amount of time it could preserve a footprint. Because you think, like, in other cases, I know this is slightly different weather conditions,
Yeah.
but you think on a lot of things, even something as simple as a bit of rain can distort footprints
Yeah.
and things like that. So how, because we're talking this is like half a month to nearly a month later, how is it perfectly preserved, those footprints, that they can tell it was made with socks?
But if there's no, like, traffic, there's no other people, footprints are going to remain.
Yeah, but they would have still had to possibly if some snow is blown over, they're still going to have to unearth a bit of that to discover those footprints. And how do they do that without disrupting or damaging them? That's what I'm thinking anyway.
That's very good points. Okay, where the branches of the tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting that one of the skiers had climbed up to maybe look for camp, or I thought maybe running or hiding from something.
Possibly.
Maybe. Or just breaking the branches with the fire.
Yep, also possible.
3 bodies were then discovered in between the campsite and the trees. They were Dyatlov, Kolmogorov, Slobodinin, who died in poses, suggested they were attempting to return to the tent. They were found at distances of 300, 480 and 630 meters away from the tree.
Right, okay.
So it's like they were with the other 2 and then tried to walk back to the camp. Finding the remaining 4 group members took more than 2 months. They were finally found on the 4th of May under 4 meters of snow in a ravine further into the woods from the pine tree. 3 of the 4 were better dressed than the others. There were signs that some of the clothing of those who had died first had been removed and used by the others. So that might be why some of them were naked.
Oh, right, okay, so the others had stripped them to keep themselves warm. Possibility.
Or it goes back to my friend's theory of that they were having sex.
I don't see how the having sex theory fits in with this. I'm still not following that one.
No, me neither. You're wrong. Dyatlov was wearing Kravchenko's burned, torn trousers, and her left foot and shin were wrapped in a torn jacket.
So could she sustain an injury?
Yes. An examination of the 4 final bodies found in May shifted the narrative of the incident and the causes of death. One victim had a fractured skull, one had crushed ribs, and Dubinina had crushed ribs and her tongue was missing.
Oh, could that have been ripped out by an animal after death, though? You know, like a foraging sort of animal?
Yes, that is one of the theories, but it's also another theory. Dubinina, who was wearing the clothes of the other group member, who was found by the trees. These clothes were tested and turns out these were apparently radioactive.
Oh, okay.
In fact, there was reportedly tiny traces of radiation around the campsite and the areas where the other bodies were found as well.
And this is after they've deviated off the path. The bit where they've been found, is this off from the trail they were originally given?
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The initial speculation that indigenous Mansi people, reindeer herders local to the area, had attacked them and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands.
Okay.
So several of the Mansi were interrogated, but the investigation indicated the nature of the deaths did not support this hypothesis. Only the hikers' footprints were visible and they showed no signs of struggle.
Okay. Yeah, so where would the attackers' footprints be? Mm-hmm. But again, I'm still a bit iffy about those footprints in the first place. I'm not going to lie.
But snow preserves footprints, though. We've seen snow.
Yeah, it does. But not for that period of time, I don't think. I don't understand how... For me, if there was snow in other parts, it obviously means it's been more snow after the death in order to cover the bodies. Which means, to me, I don't understand how none of those footprints couldn't have been covered. And therefore, to uncover them, they would have to disturb the area. And if they've disturbed the area, how do we not know that they've actually ruined or... interfered with the footprints.
True.
Or that someone else hasn't made the footprints afterwards. Because I feel like at that time it's not like today where you get so many different brands of things and there's a much more individual footprint.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that equipment would have been very similar. So how can they definitively say it belonged to them?
True, that makes sense. And also there's no outwardly injuries. So all these injuries were found after they've been autopsied.
Right, okay. Because some of them, to me, like the cracked skull, you could say that was from a fall, like they've tripped, stumbled. If they're on a mountainside, it's not implausible to think they've tripped, fallen, and whacked their head on a rock.
Yeah.
Do you
Because
know?
then that would leave proof. Okay. Yeah. I understand what you're saying with the snow.
Yeah. I'm just a bit iffy about those footprints. It's not conclusive enough for me, I don't think.
This is why I'm saying it's solved/unsolved.
Okay.
All 4 bodies found at the bottom of the creek were in a running stream of water, so they had soft tissue damage to their head and face. For example, the missing tongue.
Okay.
Further investigation found that her eyes, part of her lips, as well as facial tissues and a fragment of skull bone, while another person had their eyeballs missing.
That sounds like foraging animals to me.
Mm-hmm. And someone had their eyebrows missing.
Yeah, but if an animal's tried to tear apart to get to another bit, that's still plausible that could happen, I feel.
Yeah, so this is what a forensic expert performing the post-mortem examination judged that these happened post-mortem and was probably from the river/foraging animals.
Yeah, because if that's where water is, that's naturally where you're going to find animals, isn't it? They're going to go to where running water is.
Yeah, obviously. And then that should explain, everything that's missing.
Okay.
But the rest of the injuries caused to the bodies were unusual. There was no outward trauma, so the crushed bones, fractured skulls weren't obvious until the autopsies. Okay. It was determined the force was too strong for a human to cause.
Okay.
Okay. There's a theory as to why, which to me is plausible, but it's also, it's just, there's weird things.
Okay. I'll let you carry on.
Other strange details about this case. Obviously, the tent was ripped open from the inside. What would cause them to run from the tent and cut open their one shelter? What would cause them to run?
Unless I don't know how it's fastened. Is it fastened with some sort of zip or something? You know, if I imagine if the zip's got a bit jarred and I don't know, heard a scream or something, they go through as if it's a bit jarred. You think, oh, I've got to get out quick. You rip it to go and see.
True. What it is.
You know, someone says come quickly sort of thing, and said it's jammed. You can't get out quickly because you don't know what the danger is. If no one immediately says what that danger is, you're going to do what is the quickest.
So you're thinking one of the group members is outside the tent screaming?
Yeah. Because if that goes back to the other one's maybe sustained a head injury, one's fallen and everyone's, quick, come, everyone else. Something jars in under... I'm not saying that that's what it is, but in my head I'm sort of going with that's a possibility.
I think they might still have some kind of calmness to that. They're not going to be rip open the tent, are they? They're not going to cut open
unless it's in a panic. If the other person hasn't said why they need to come quickly, how do you know that the person that's ripped it open is not very anxiety based, if you like, in a bit of a panic?
True, you'd be like, for God's sake, we need that. maybe I don't know. Yeah, because why would they leave the tent barefoot as well?
In a hurry.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know. That's what's in it. It goes back. I feel like there was an emergency, something suddenly happened.
Exposing themselves most likely to certain death in those minus temperatures. Why would they do that?
But then again, if you go back to the idea that there's a possibility that someone has stumbled or fallen and sustained an injury, what does everyone naturally do? You quickly go to that person's aid. You're not necessarily thinking about how you're dressed, what's the most appropriate thing. Your immediate concern is the other person.
True.
But because we don't know what danger was awaiting, it could have been... because you don't know how it started, you don't know what caused them to initially leave. But I feel like there might have been some sort of emergency.
Mm. Oh, yeah, there's definitely some kind of emergency if they're willing to cut open their tent and then run for their lives in a state of undress. And, why would you not wear clothes?
But then is it a state of undress? Because you were saying later it's possible that one removed the clothing from another. So did they leave in a state of undress?
The footprints leading from the tent.
Oh, yeah, okay, that one was in socks. But then again, I'm still a bit iffy about those footprints, so I'm not convinced, I'll be honest.
Okay, so we're nearly at some theories, so I'll continue. A 12-year-old boy who, at the time, was Yuri... His name begins with cunt.
Just go with the first name.
Yuri Kunshevich, who later became the head of a Dyatlov Foundation, attended 5 of the hikers' funeral when he was 12.
Okay.
He recalled that their skin had a deep brown tan, which...
so it's open casket.
Yeah. But, if you're up a mountain, you're exposed to sunlight, you're going to get a tan.
Yeah, So even if it's a sort of wind burn. Sort of. And
so,
you think by now they are starting to decompose.
True.
They're not going to look like they've just died, are they?
So when he was 12, he thought this was so.
But then is that a 12-year-old? It's just he's not imagined it, but he sort of elaborated on the actual truth.
Another group of hikers, about 31 miles south of the incident, reported that they saw strange orange spheres in the sky to the north on the night of the incident. Similar spheres were observed in Ivdel, adjacent areas, and continuously during the period from February to March that year.
They're not going to claim aliens, are they?
You have not researched this at all. So yeah, there's supposed to be various independent witnesses to these spheres, including meteorological service and the military. These sightings were not noted in 1959 in the investigation. The witnesses only came forward years later.
Yeah, okay, I'm already a bit iffy about that.
So, the theories as to what might happen, and I'm going to quote an article from Vox. Okay, it could have been a delayed slab avalanche.
Okay. Oh, so possibly running away from it?
Yeah, so the hikers dug a platform into the slope of the mountain to pitch their tent. A scientific model published in January of 2021 demonstrates this, combined with the strong downslope winds that accumulated snow above the tent, triggered a deadly slab avalanche.
Okay.
This type of avalanche can occur even in places not known for avalanches. It can cause injuries consistent with some of those that were sustained by the hikers.
Yeah, it's like a crushing, isn't it?
The crushing motion. Oh, it could also have been something called a katabatic wind, a powerful wind that travels down a mountain slope, picking up speed under the force of gravity. In this scenario, a strong wind can become near hurricane level very suddenly. If this happened the night of the incident, it could explain why the hikers would have abandoned their tent so quickly, as the powerful wind would potentially tear the tent apart. The mysterious internal injuries that some sustained are explained by the snow den the hikers dug for the shelter, and then that collapsing on them.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so then they could have gone towards the trees for a bit more shelter.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm following that.
Both theories offer potential solutions what drove the hikers suddenly to abandon their tent.
I think they're both quite plausible.
Exactly. Ultimately though, since there was no survivors, many questioned surrounding the case.
Yeah, but if it's happened so quickly...
Yeah, which is why I say it's solved.
But not solved.
But solved.
Okay.
Because there's no survivors. You can't say, yeah, this happened, this didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, I spoke about the paradoxical undress earlier, and that's still, of course you're going to... Yeah, that's going to happen. It happens all the time.
But then again, if you've mentioned about another one was wearing the other one's clothing, there's also that possibility that they might not have died immediately, have tried to escape, removed the clothing of others to keep themselves extra warm, better prepare themselves for their escape, if you see what I mean.
Yep.
So they've still made an attempt to leave and they think, well, okay, I'm not suitably dressed myself. We'll remove the clothing of the nearest person, become suitably dressed, so I can make my escape in order to get help, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go with that one. I think that's plausible.
Another theory is aliens.
No.
Because of the lights that were reportedly seen. But that's all I have.
But could that not have been either a flare or something similar to Northern Lights? But
there's another theory linked to that.
Okay.
Another theory linked to aliens is a Soviet missile is what caused the death of some of the victims.
Right, okay.
Which explains the lights.
Yes.
A doctor on the autopsy team theorized an explosion could have caused some of the injuries. However, no evidence of an explosion was ever found.
Expect to find fragments of something, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
But then was it buried in the snow? I suppose you could argue that.
True. And then that might explain for the radiation that was detected.
It would, actually.
But then again, there's some reports...
was it already quite radioactive before, and that's why they'd not allowed the trail to be there in the first place? Because you mentioned about the military. Is that why they set trails so that people didn't deviate from them? Because certain areas were more radioactive than others?
Well, there's some theories that suggest that there was no radiation at all.
Right, okay.
So there's some...
But then is that the military trying to cover it up?
And being Soviet Union...
Yeah, you're not trusting.
Yeah, exactly. So there's another theory, and it's my favourite. A Yeti did it.
Oh no, I really like that.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence Yetis exist. There's no evidence of a Yeti being there. Maybe the Yeti drove them from the tent. That's why they ran away. They heard a Yeti. They heard a Yeti roar. If they roar...
I do really like that idea. The only thing I would question was, why did they attack them in the first place? But also a Yeti, like, I know it's supposed to be part human.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also think part animal I feel like they would have attacked for food, in which case, why was there remains? Like, why didn't they take the rest of them with them? Do you see what I mean?
They took the tongue.
Okay. Well, they're not that hungry afterwards. You weren't that tasty, so
they didn't taste that nice. Yeah, I know. And there's no evidence of giant footprints in the snow.
Well, yeah, but only the ones in the socks.
So yeah, a Yeti is my favourite.
It's funny. But...
It's funny because I don't believe it. But yeah, Yeti was my favourite because I don't believe it at all.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's just a random one thrown in there. It's a good one.
So that's all the theories for Dyatlov Pass. The most popular theory is aliens. But I don't like aliens being the most popular. I don't think we're alone in the universe, but I don't think aliens decided to come. Because why would they leave them?
Yeah. Why didn't they either leave another sign or zap them back up into their little spaceship?
I think it's just because it's the tongue. I think it's the
but
slab.
To me, a wild animal taking the tongue is far more plausible than an alien.
Exactly. I think it's just the slab and the katabatic winds, and I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that more recent research to me seems far more plausible. That mixed with, like I said, because that would also go back to explain why suddenly ripping a tent open, you've got to make a quick escape.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're heading maybe to where there's a tree line because you feel like that might be a bit more stable. Mm-hmm. So you're heading that way. Because the two that were found nearer to those trees might have already been nearer.
Yeah.
And they maybe shouted towards us. I don't know whether the voice would have carried that far, but the others were like, quick, like, we've got to go, there's an avalanche. Because I imagine as well, avalanches are quite loud. Like, some of them, if it started from maybe significantly higher above, some of them, you know, that crashing sound, I imagine in my head. I don't know if it's because I'm also imagining like an iceberg crashing down into the sea, but when I imagine snow falling, it still makes quite a significant noise.
When I watched the Vox video, the way the slab avalanche, it moves silently. That's how I'm remembering it.
More a visual thing than an audio.
So I think they probably noticed that the tent's being crushed, so then they got to cut their way out.
Yeah, quick.
And then that's why they're running half naked, separated, might find each other, take the dead people's clothes, and then
Okay, so I feel like initially I don't think they all died at the same time.
No, I don't think
some
they
might
did.
have possibly survived with injuries.
Yeah.
Tried to make their escape, which to me explains the lack of clothing on some of them.
Yep.
They took those clothes in aid to go and like make their escape, try and get help.
Yeah.
But maybe the injuries were a lot more severe because like adrenaline wise or shock.
Yeah.
It allows you to keep moving, and actually, it was far worse. Their injuries were far more significant than they realised, and they just didn't make it that much further.
Yeah, especially when they think they've probably like survived, so then they've got that keeping them going, and then it's like they see someone die.
Yeah,
that's gonna drain them. Yeah,
because all you've got to take is even when that water is they've ran to that distance, make a getaway. They've hit some water. Right, okay, how are we getting across this? I don't know how deep or wide that is.
No.
But even some water, they're thinking, right, I've got to make a quick getaway. We're not just running, are we?
No.
You've either got to jump over the water or swim through it or...
Yeah, they're in the middle of nowhere. They're miles from anyone.
They don't know the bearings. They've already lost track.
Yeah.
I feel like the avalanche, for me, is the most plausible theory.
Yeah, because, that's the one I completely agree with as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
But I still think it's unsolved.
It is to a degree because it's...
There's no proof that that's what happened.
Yeah. For me, I'm still really iffy about those footprints. I don't understand how they came up with that information. I'm questioning that.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to just throw that out completely.
I think you're right.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that someone else added in as a bit of extra detail, like someone exaggerated on a bit.
Oh, you mean like after the fact there was aliens in the sky?
Yes, it was an alien footprint.
It might be. We don't know that.
Oh, yeah, true.
Explains the radiation. So yeah, that's Dyatlov Pass. So it's going to be your case next week.
Yeah, so now that we've done your case, we'll release mine next week. Yeah. But it's still case number 3 for me.
So Amelia's case 3.
Yes.
So yeah, just let us know what you think of 1 episode a week or 2 cases in 2 separate episodes weekly.
Yeah, I think
I think that's the way going forward.
I think that will be the way going forward. But obviously, for the purpose of this, we'll just this week and next week we'll release our case 3 separately and just one in the week, and see how that goes.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening. In the meantime, keep creeping,
and we'll keep digging.
Bye.